The NHL trade deadline is getting closer every day, and after the Islanders' embarrassing loss to the Ottawa Senators Tuesday, the trade rumors are heating up. We've got the latest rumors and what they mean for the Islanders. Plus, we preview tonight's game against the Flyers, all that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Thursday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So, the Islanders lost to Ottawa in embarrassing fashion. And as a result of that loss, the trade rumors just start bubbling up even more. And in the media on Wednesday, more talk about possible trades and where some of these players could go. One report talking about the possibility of Scott Mayfield heading to Toronto, and that the Maple Leafs, who are looking for a right shot defenseman, could be interested. Nick Kypreos of Sportsnet basically saying that the Maple Leafs would certainly have an interest in Mayfield. Mayfield, only 32, still should have a few solid years left before he starts to slow down. The problem is he has 5 years left on his contract after this season. Now, Mayfield, he's played, pretty well at times. The numbers are solid. He's averaging 17 and a half minutes roughly per game. He has a plus 13 plus minus rating. And, that's even more impressive when you consider that the Islanders' goal differential is minus 17. So, Mayfield, best plus minus on the Islanders right now. And it would, right-handed defensemen, right shot defensemen are in demand. There's not as many of them. And for that reason, their value always gets enhanced a little bit. So Kypreos basically in this story for Sportsnet, here's what he said. Mayfield is a big right shot defender who kills penalties, blocks shots, and is physical. Just the type of defenseman teams seek out at the trade deadline. But he's not a rental, which could potentially complicate things. Would the Islanders have to eat some money to make the deal work? Possibly. But considering the incoming cap spike, $3.5 million won't be so challenging to manage as Mayfield ages into his mid-30s. If Lou Lamoriello wants to move Mayfield, there will be a market, and the Maple Leafs would love to get this player. Now, Mayfield does have a full no-trade clause for this year and next year. After 2025-2026, he can submit a 16-team list. So in order for any deal, whether it's Toronto or another team, Mayfield would have to approve and waive that no-trade clause. However, for the Islanders, again, here is a team stuck in the muddy middle. If you can get a market for Scott Mayfield, and I like Scott Mayfield as a player and as a person, but if you can get somebody to take the remaining 5 years plus, 2 months of the rest of this season, and then the next 5 years of that contract off of the Islanders' hands, I'd do it. I would do it because, again, this team stuck in the muddy middle. The problem with Mayfield is not so much the $3.5 million. It's more or less the 5 years plus the rest of this year as he gets to be 33, 35, 36, 37. That's the bigger issue. And the no trade clause is the issue because, again, here's a guy with value. Here's a guy who plays a position, especially at the trade deadline where teams are looking to add depth and fortify their right shot defenseman. They want a defensive guy, a physical guy for the grind of the playoffs. It would make a lot of sense for Lou Lamoriello to explore other teams' potential interest in Mayfield. Again, assuming Mayfield will waive his no trade clause. Other rumors that were out there and being discussed, some possible teams listed who could be interested in Brock Nelson. And we've talked about Brock Nelson and the fact that he is considered one of the top, if not the top, most desirable players available at the trade deadline this year. Again, assuming he's available, he would be a rental as of right now. But Matt Larkin of the Daily Faceoff listed 5 teams that would be ideal fits for Brock Nelson. Some of them we've talked about before. We've mentioned the Maple Leafs. We've mentioned the Wild. And we've mentioned the Dallas Stars. Now, the other 2 teams on the list right now, Colorado Avalanche, who are looking for a middle 6 center. You still have Gabriel Landeskog not back on the ice. And the real question becomes whether or not Colorado has what the Islanders are looking for to send back the other way. Then you have the Dallas Stars, Tyler Seguin still on LTIR. There is, they do need to reinforce the center position. They have picks and prospects, and they're also looking to add a defenseman. Maybe Mayfield comes into play. Maybe another one of the Islanders' defensemen can come into play. But again, you're looking at different possibilities here as to what might be a good destination and a good trade fit for Brock Nelson if, and again, it remains a big if, Lou Lamoriello is ready, willing, and able to trade him. The other team, obviously, that we didn't go in depth on is the Winnipeg Jets. They are one of the best teams in the league, but, at the trade deadline, you always kind of want to add something, and a rental might be ideal for Winnipeg, and that would also set up Brock Nelson to be able to explore free agency, which he said he did want to explore, where signing with Winnipeg, again, would be an option. Signing anywhere else would then be an option, even if he wants to return to the Islanders. But the Islanders, again, could get, whether it's picks, prospects, a young player to help the Islanders build up their future. All of these things from Winnipeg could be on the possibility list. And, again, the rumors are out there. It just becomes a question of the Islanders being able to pull off a deal. But the biggest obstacle to this, or a Mayfield deal, or a Palmieri deal, or any other trade at this point in time, remains Lou Lamoriello's insistence that, hey, we love this team. I believe in this core, and I am not actively looking to make any trades. Now, you've, everydayers, you'll remember I have said on this podcast, and I've said it numerous times, the next 6-7 months between now and, let's say, the opening of training camp, so let's go long and say 8 months, give the New York Islanders some unique opportunities to speed up the retool. You've got Nelson and Palmieri, whose contracts are up at the end of this year. You've got Noah Dobson, whose contract is up. Now, he's restricted, but again, there is an opening there. You've got Anders Lee, whose contract is up, and JG Pajot, their contract is up after next season. So they're under contract for 2025, 2026. They are now more movable. And again, the opportunity is there to make this team younger, faster, and more skilled. To get out of the muddy middle, to not do a full rebuild where you're a terrible team getting lottery picks for 5 years in a row, and to speed it up because you do have a group of players, a core of 5, 6, 8 players you can build this team around. But if you don't take advantage, if you don't maximize the assets, you're in that long, ugly rebuild where you may not see the playoffs for 5 or 6 years. And that's assuming that the next GM of the Islanders would be getting the picks and the trades and the moves right. And look, Ilya Sorokin gives the Islanders a really good goaltender. I would hate to see Sorokin's prime, the prime of his career, be wasted if the Islanders go into a long, drawn-out, difficult rebuild that takes 4, 5, 6 years. Let's see if Lou Lamoriello eventually wakes up. Is there a magic number? You know, this is one of the things I'm asking. Is there a magic number of points that this team has to be behind in the wild card race in order for Lou Lamoriello to say, you know what, we're not going to make it this year. We need to retool. I'm going to sell. Because right now, the Islanders are 7 points out of a playoff spot. Yes, they have a game in hand, but they're 7 points out of the second wild card. And they need to pass 7 teams to get there. The 7 points is hard enough, but the 7 teams to pass, that is really, really going to be challenging. And look, here's another chance tonight. They play the Flyers, a team that is right now 3 points ahead of the Islanders, and the Islanders have 2 games in hand. But each loss, and we talked about earlier this week how important these 7 home games are. Well, you're 0-1 on this homestand. I said the Islanders needed to get 10 points on this homestand. They'll need to go 5-1 the rest of the way. In order to do that, it's looking less and less likely, especially if they play the way they did Tuesday night against Ottawa, where the offense was a no-show. We're going to talk about the power play, how bad it's been, plus Patrick Roy's comments about Tuesday's game. We'll preview tonight's game against the Flyers, and for our Islanders' birthday of the day, a first-round pick by the Islanders in 2004, who only played 15 games with the team. Let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got all that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at Indeed. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs puts your post at the top of the page and helps you reach the right candidates faster. I've been in that spot where you need to hire someone yesterday. Well, the pressure is on, and every day without the right person feels like a setback. That's exactly where Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. Now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Again, that's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, is all you need. So before we get to the power play, got to talk a little bit about Patrick Roy and what he had to say about the Islanders and the way they played. And, sometimes Wah is known to be a little understated in his quotes, but, basically, here's what he said. First of all, he said part of it is it's the time change. Obviously, it's hard to adjust to the 2 or 3 hour time difference, but at the same time, that's no excuse. We have to respond to this. I mean, the position we were in, winning 3 in a row, we had a chance to go to 4 in a row. I think we should have been more hungry. We should have had more urgency than what we did. Sometimes you have to dig those ones, and for some reason, we did not. Well, that's on the players and that's also on the coach because this is a veteran team. This veteran team does not need to be told, hey, by the way, this is an important game. And yet they still did not bring the level of urgency needed. And look, what Patrick Waugh tells the media and what he says in that locker room are not necessarily identical, but let's just hope that the message gets through to this roster because that performance on Tuesday was just not acceptable. Now, one of the big problems for the Islanders is the power play. And they have now gone 14 games without a power play goal. And they are 0 for 25 in that stretch. 0 for 25. It was December 8th, the last time the New York Islanders scored a power play goal. Folks, that is more than 5 weeks ago. And, 25 straight times where you have an extra skater on the ice and you can't put the puck in the net, that is hard to believe when you've got, look, I'm not saying the Islanders have elite scoring talent, but they're certainly not lacking in any. You've got Kyle Palmieri, you've got Bo Horvat, you've got Matthew Barzal, you've got Anthony Duclair. These are experienced guys on the power play. Patrick Waugh said, if I'm telling you our power play was good, I'd be lying to you. We haven't had a lot of power plays. I know it's been 14 games since we last had one. It's no excuse. Noah Dobson today. Obviously, we know it has to be better. We put a lot of work into practices and stuff. We just have to go out in the game and execute. There are times when it looks good dandy, and there are times when it doesn't. We have to find that consistency to be good each time we go out there. Ultimately, when you're struggling like this, and this is historically bad, 14 games without a power play goal. 14 games without a power play goal, 25 straight misses. 25 straight. You go back to basics. You go back to the most basic thing. If you want to score a goal, first of all, rule number 1, shoot the puck. Somebody's got to be open. You've got an extra guy. Find that man and shoot the puck. So move the puck, find the open man, create time and space, shoot, and then go to the dirty areas. Get rebounds, screen the goalie, get deflections, second and third chances, work for it. Get in front of that net and battle. And we're just not seeing enough of that. And the other thing is this team has too many players on it who are pass first and, don't shoot the puck enough. And you go down this roster, obviously Matthew Barzal comes to mind first. Simon Holmstrom can be on that list. Pierre Engvall is certainly on that list. You got to shoot the puck and you've got to get more production. And let's face it, you could talk all you want about injuries. You could talk all you want about road games, home games, scheduling. You can go and give me any excuse you want and look at it from any angle. If your power play is dead last in the NHL and you're only converting 10.5%, and your penalty kill is dead last in the NHL, and opponents are scoring more than a third of the time, every 3 power plays that they get, they're scoring more than 1 on average. They're converting at 34.4%. If you're dead last in those 2 categories, you are not a playoff team. Unless you are outscoring your opponents 5-on-5 at a ridiculously, statistically impossible rate. And let's get this team on the same page. You have a new penalty kill coach this year, Tommy Albaline. Still struggling on the PK, although, yeah, what did they kill? 4 or 5 in a row. They're a little better lately. But the power play, John McClain still running the power play. I don't know what else there is left to try. I don't know whether it's that the coach, that the plan is bad or the execution is bad. It's probably a combination of both. But go back to basics, guys. Keep it simple. Shoot the puck. Get to the dirty areas. Make it work. Don't let the perfect get in the way of the good. And let's end this drought. I think it's one of those situations where once they end it, they won't be squeezing the sticks as hard. It'll be a big relief. That doesn't mean the power play will suddenly be good, but there will, I think, be a little bump where the pressure is off and, wow, we're off the schneid. I'm looking forward to seeing it because how many? December 8th. The Islanders don't have a power play goal for the calendar year of 2025. It's got to get better. If it doesn't, this team has no chance of making the playoffs. All right. Islanders and Flyers go at it tonight. We will preview that game. We'll have that and our Islanders birthday of the day coming up next on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories was attending a concert last year. The energy and excitement were unforgettable. Well, now Game Time has made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite events with their new feature, Game Time Picks. The feature filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One of my other favorite features on the Game Time app, the view from your seat. You go on the app and you'll see a panoramic view from your seat before you purchase the tickets, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. I want to thank everyone for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from our hosts, Steele and Flip. You can find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Tonight at the UBS Arena, Islanders and Flyers going at it. It is a 7:30 Eastern time start. And let's hope the Islanders can do a little something. Now, again, the Islanders coming in a situation where they are up against another team that is competing with them for one of these last playoff spots. Now, the Flyers lost in a shootout to Columbus on Tuesday night. That is, of course, the Islanders' worst possible outcome because Columbus got 2 points, the Flyers got 1. Guess how many the Islanders got against Ottawa? That would be 0. So, again, not a good situation there. And the Flyers, if you look at the standings right now, they happen to be 3 points ahead of the Islanders, but the Islanders have 2 games in hand. So you win this game in regulation, and you're 1 point back with 2 games in hand. You lose this game in regulation, and all of a sudden you are 5 points back with the 2 games in hand. Islanders need to find a way to win. Flyers, middle of the road in goals scored, 14th, but they are 30th in goals against. The power play is bad, 28th in the league at 16.5%. The penalty kill below average at 20th in the league, 78.4%, but still way higher than the New York Islanders. The goalies right now, Samuel Ersson and Ivan Fedotov, and we'll see who ends up getting the start against Columbus. It was Fedotov in goal, so it is very likely that we will see Ersson against the Islanders. Right now, Travis Konechny leads the team with 20 goals and with 30 assists, so he has 50 points. The next highest player, Matvei Michkov, the very skilled Russian, he is next with 31. So a big, big dip. You gotta, obviously, if you're the New York Islanders, slow down Travis Konechny. He and Michkov are also the most deadly on the power play. 8 power play goals for Konechny. Michkov has 6, and no other Flyers player has more than 3. Other players in double digits in goals. Owen Tippett has 13. Tyson Forster has 12. Morgan Frost has 10. You look at the line combinations right now. Noah Cates, Tyson Forster, and Bobby Brink are the top line, followed by Morgan Frost, Owen Tippett, and Travis Konechny. Third line is Sean Couturier, Oli Leixel, and Matvei Michkov, while Ryan Poling centers the fourth line with Scott Lawton to his left and Garnett Hathaway to his right. On the blue line, Cam York and Travis Sanheim are the top pair. Igor Zamula and Rasmus Ristolainen are the middle pair, and Nick Seeler and Jamie Drysdale are the third pair. We mentioned Fedotov and Ersson as the goalies. On IR right now, Ryan Ellis and Nicholas Deslauriers. Again, just like Tuesday, this is a critical game for the New York Islanders, and they cannot afford to fall any further behind Philadelphia. If they can win this game, they get closer to the Flyers. If they lose, the Flyers are, looking at the Islanders further and further away in their rearview mirror. And, that thing that they put, objects in mirror maybe closer than they appear, wouldn't be the case for the Flyers looking at the Islanders if they win this game in regulation. So let's hope the Islanders can play a little better. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And, today is the 39th birthday of former Islanders winger Petteri Nikolainen, the native of Finland, 6'1", 201 pounds, a first-round pick of the Islanders in 2004, the 16th overall pick, came to North America to join the Islanders for the 05-06 season, but only played 15 games for the Isles, had a goal and an assist, 4 penalty minutes, and was a -1. Spent the next season in Bridgeport, then was traded to Boston, played for the Ducks, played for the Coyotes, the Canadiens, and then went back to Europe to finish his career. Only played in 245 career NHL games, 20 goals, 41 points, 103 penalty minutes. He did play in 21 postseason games and had 2 assists in those. Neither of them, though, none of those games came with the Islanders. One of his better games, in fact, his best game as an Islander, came on October 13th, 2005. Islanders visiting our nation's capital to face the Washington Capitals. Islanders had Garth Snow in goal. Brent Johnson was the goalie for Washington. And with the Islanders, they got off to a 3-0 lead on goals by Alexei Yashin, Trent Hunter, and Jason Blake. So all of a sudden, It's 3-0 Islanders. The Capitals scored twice to make it a 3-2 game. And then a minute and 3 seconds into the third period, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Petteri Nikolainen, scores his first career NHL goal. Oleg Kavasha gets the assist. That puts the Islanders up 4-2. And then Nikolainen assists on a goal by Mark Parrish a little more than 2 minutes later to make it 5-2. Islanders go on to win it by a final score of 5-3. Garth Snow 13 saves to earn the win. Rick DiPietro was in the game, gave up 2 goals on 15 shots, and had to come out, and Snow finished up. But for our Islanders' birthday of the day, Petteri Nikolainen, he had a goal and an assist. He was a +2. And he scored the game winner, and he had 2 shots on goal in only 9.5 minutes on ice. So Petteri Nikolainen, he is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, we will be back tomorrow. We will have our key takeaways from tonight's game against the Flyers, and we will preview Saturday night's game against the San Jose Sharks, including we will be talking a little bit about, a very special ceremony that's going to take place at that game. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. And it's always great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.